mixed use. You would be tougher than that was 80 minutes. I'll make sure.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I would like to call the May Plan Commission meeting to order. Ms. Waldron, will you please walk us through roll call?
Sturdivant,
Here?
Layton, here. Holland,
Here.
McCright, Murphy,
Here.
Here he comes.
Bills, Baker.
Here. So do we need to say for the record that Mr. McCright's here? There. Perfect. Did I hear, is Joe online? Apologize. I got distracted.
Yep, I'm here.
Perfect. Just a reminder, when we go to vote, you will need to turn your camera on.
You got it.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wonderful. And welcome everybody to the May Plan Commission meeting for the town of Fortville. Appreciate everybody's time this evening. Moving along to our next order of business, approval of the meeting agenda. Adam, do we have any changes or can we approve as presented?
You may approve as presented.
Right. Look for a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
I would make a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting agenda approved. Thank you very much. All right. Next, the commission is to consider approving minutes of the April 2026 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the meeting minutes? As we were discussing earlier, it is a hefty packet. Any questions, concerns, changes needed at this time? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the April 2026 meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the April 22nd, 2026 meeting minutes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? All right, carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving along to our public hearing portion of the meeting this evening. We have one case before us this evening, case number STP 01-2026, Domino's Pizza, continued from the April meeting. Commission to consider approval of concept plans, which include the site plan, landscaping, lighting, building elevations for a proposed remodel of 414 West Garden Street for a Domino's Pizza location. Adam, if you would please give us the staff report. We'll appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. For the record, I'm Adam Zaklikowski, the Planning and Building Director for the town. So as you mentioned, item before us tonight is the commission to consider the concept plan. So site plan, landscaping, lighting, building elevations for proposed major remodel of 414 West Garden for Domino's Pizza. So this property is about 0.73 acres in size, and it was recently purchased by RPM Pizza Midwest 2 LLC. That's a franchisee for Domino's. And the use of this property as a pizza shop is allowed by right in business-2 zoning. That's a grandfathered zoning district on the property. The property was most recently used as a used car lot called E-Motors, and it's been an auto repair shop in the past, has also apparently been a dry cleaners before that. So it should be noted that the town paid for some environmental studies using our EPA grant funding. And we did a phase 1 and a phase 2 environmental site assessment on the property. And a tank on the property will be removed. Also, for your background knowledge, the Redevelopment Commission has committed a little over $44,000 of TIF funds via their facade repair grant program towards the project. And should be noted from the get-go that the applicant has been very collaborative and cooperative with staff. So if we take a look at the aerial photo and the parcel map, you can see it's the property right on the point of Garden Street and Broadway as you're coming into Fortville from the west side. And if you take a look at the oblique aerial, you get a little bit of a clearer picture of the property. So off to the east is that former Dairy Queen. Across the street is the Dollar General. And of course, we can always refer back to these exhibits as need be. Take a look at the street view photo from August 2024 and see the property in question. And these are some photos that were taken, of course, in the winter. Then here is the combined concept site and landscape plan before you tonight. All right, so in terms of the staff review analysis, the typical review items on the site plan that we look at for the zoning ordinance should be noted that this is within the Broadway main overlay of town. So the first item that we look at is the access and circulation. And so driveway access to Broadway and Garden, those are both existing and they'll remain unchanged. Chairback curbs will be installed around a new and improved parking lot and drive-through lane. And the existing posts that are around that parking lot will be removed. Should be noted that a new sidewalk was contemplated along the north side of Garden Street. However, no sidewalk is planned along Broadway west of the intersection, nor does one exist at all on Garden, so its functionality would be very limited, despite a sizable expense for the owner as part of this remodel. For setbacks, those of course are unchanged. It's an existing building. For parking, there are 17 spaces proposed, including one ADA space as required. And parking is more than adequate to accommodate the predominantly pickup-oriented business with only 4 interior seats. And the regular parking space dimensions will be 9 by 18 as required. For landscaping and screening, they will be adding juniper bushes for screening around the parking area and the dumpster enclosure. And landscaping will be added in an island to be created near the drive-through lane north of the building. They'll put in some river rock and shrubs. And then juniper bushes will also be added around a new concrete patio area near Broadway. The dumpster will be screened with a wall and an opaque gate. And the derelict lot that is part of this property, that existing rubble that you see, will be removed and grass will be planted. Just in terms of drainage on this property, improvements will be made to the parking lot drainage. There's no on-site detention that would be provided. It's not required. It's under an acre in size, and it's a minimal amount of new pavement area that would be added to the project. So in terms of the concept building elevations, you can see those here. You can always come back to these. But basically, the building was constructed in 1954 as an auto repair shop, possibly a gas station too. So rather than doing a modern suburban refinish, the direction by myself was to keep the 1950s automotive aesthetic for something unique to Fortville. So they'll add glass garage doors. They'll have gooseneck lighting fixtures above those garage doors. That retro parking lot fixture that you see out in front, that would be relocated to the point and would have LED fixtures, and then that would be used to illuminate the new sign. And all lighting will be shielded and will point downward. They're also doing a curved metal awning around the building, which is kind of emulates that architectural style of a gas station from the 50s. And then they'll carry a red stripe all the way around the building at that point. Again, kind of playing to that aesthetic. They will be using EFIS where the black aluminum panels exist now, but EFIS will be scored to match the current style of those panels that they have. And then the EFIS and the existing cinder block will be painted white. In terms of the community response, all of the public hearing requirements were completed. The newspaper publication, the sign, posting to the nearby property owners, and we're not aware of any remonstrance. So with that, I would recommend that you approve the concept plans of the site plan, landscape, building elevations, and lighting. I would recommend just 3 minor conditions. First one would be that 2 street trees shall be added along Broadway between the sidewalk and the parking area. Second one is that an inverted U-shaped bicycle rack shall be provided as required. And then the last one would be the final light photometric plans and final light fixture cut sheets shall be provided for staff review and approval. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address those. And then representatives from the franchisee are here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate that overview and report. Any questions for Adam at this time?
Yeah, Adam, can you point out the patio, the proposed patio?
Yes, it would be located right here.
And will there be seating there?
Yes, I believe so.
Sure. Okay.
And then
I like that.
Yeah, and the original idea was they were going to put it in this area. And so I said to him, I said, well, what if we were to put it closer to Broadway? So it's a little bit more pleasant rather than being right by the drive-through lane there. So these symbols that you see over here would be the juniper bushes that would provide some additional screening in that area.
Is the drive-through lane really a drive-through? Like you can pick up?
Yeah, so we'll have time in the agenda for the petitioner and we'll have plenty of questions. So
Sure.
let's.
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of
No,
myself.
not at all. I want to make sure we just catch it on there. So any other questions for Adam? Brought up a good point. I want to ask all that.
Adam, on this visual here that we're looking at on the screen, where are those additional trees you're requesting?
Let's see. Can you see the cursor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd say probably one in this area over here and then one in this area over here.
And that would just match the aesthetic of the remainder of the block there.
Yeah, just the idea there was just so we have some additional tree canopy over time along Broadway.
Thank you.
And since they have the space to do it, as you know, sometimes along Broadway, there's just not a lot of space to do that. But here there should be.
Adam, would you want to add trees on the other side of the entrance as well?
Oh, over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. Maybe if they're amenable to it, maybe putting maybe one more over here. Maybe if they did two over here and then one near the patio.
It may be a little premature because they'll come up, but in the derelict lot, I know we're taking everything out. But I would like to see if they're amenable, putting like 3 or 4 trees in that what will be an empty grassy space. Unless they're planning on doing something with the lot differently.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly up to them. My thought on that would be, I believe the plan is to try to sell that piece for development. So, you certainly could, but if it ends up getting redeveloped, the trees might need to be removed. But I think lastly, what I would say from a planning perspective is, I think it's really important that they get rid of the rubble that's there, which they've committed to doing, cleaning that up, just so it's a nice grassy area that is primed for future development.
I have a couple questions, Adam, when you have a moment. I don't want to jump in.
Go for it.
So maybe I missed this, but what is the diameter of the juniper bushes that are going to be planted along there? And is the intent for them to grow up to create like a hedge?
Yeah, the junipers usually when they put those in, I don't think they measure it in caliper, but rather I think they usually do gallons for shrubs. But regardless, yes, the idea is to have a hedge there that would be, 3 to 4 feet when they're fully mature to screen the parking area.
Well, then regarding the parking area, is all of that all the material that's there right now, is that all going to be pulled up and then a new HMA overlay put on it, or, asphalt pavement? Because it's
Yes.
pretty cracked and broken up right now.
Yeah, yes, they will be ripping up the parking lot and redoing it.
Now, with its history of hazardous material being on the property, first it was the auto repair shop, which we knew there was a UST on the site, and then it becoming a small quantity generator of hazardous waste due to it being a dry cleaning facility. Has there been any remediation done to the soil underneath since its usage as those?
I don't believe so. I think from what I recall in the phase 2 report, there was a tank, some sort of tank that was towards the back of the facility that I think they weren't even 100% sure what that tank was used for at one point. But as you probably know even better than I do, when there's questions about some sort of tank in the ground, regardless of what it might have been used for, the best practice is just to rip it out and then to do tests on the soil that was there. So I think that tank might be even in the process right now of being ripped out or soon, will happen soon.
Do we
So
have an idea of the age of that tank by any chance? I'm assuming that it was placed in there before 1990.
yeah, most likely. It would all be spelled out in the full-blown phase 2 environmental site assessment.
Okay, so we could primarily just go ahead and account that there's some lead and petroleum contamination there if the tank was placed pre-1987, just due to the way they corrode and what the materials they were constructed of. If anything is found, are they going to, maybe this is a question more directed towards the petitioner, but I would assume that they're going to have to do some sort of remediation. And is the petitioner aware of all that this could involve? Rather than just
I believe the answer
over?
is yes, but I'll defer to them to respond.
Okay. I can wait and ask it again. I think that's all of my questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Brittany.
Adam, I have a few questions. Are there any concerns by staff on, one of the first things I immediately noticed was the exit of the drive-through, the proposed drive-through being so close to Broadway and especially accommodating a right-hand turn onto Broadway out of there. Does that pose any concerns to you? Or you, I guess?
The drive-through coming right out.
Right.
Honestly, it didn't jump out at me. I mean,
I don't anticipate it being full the entire time, obviously, but that was one of the first things I noticed. So I just didn't know if that was something that was discussed or any concerns between staff or.
no,
Conflict.
I would say that when it comes to drive-throughs, my experience has been the number one thing is you don't want the vehicles to queue and to back up and to block block an entrance or an exit. So in this case, the exit, as long as you're not doing something too peculiar with exiting, sometimes that happens with drive-throughs is they might come up with a strange way of exiting, but no, the bottom line is I don't see an issue with it.
All right,
But
if there were no concerns with
Yeah.
staff or.
And I think we wanted away from the larger intersection. So you do want to keep it this way.
I mean, my only concern would be if one person tries to turn left on Friday night out of the drive-through, it's your only exit on that side. You would back up the exit. Like no one else is going out. If one person wants to turn left, it takes 10 minutes to turn left out of there. Just knowing where, if you look at the other one, I think it's Garden Street over there, that backs up pretty heavily. I don't think there's any way around it, but it's just a busy intersection.
Unless it came straight out,
Right.
which.
On the other side of the patio.
Which would be another cut, which we probably don't want either, so.
Yeah.
Right.
It was just something I just thought I'd bring up and see if it was
Sure.
discussed at all or posed any concerns from you guys, so, okay. Second thing, you kind of touched on it, but another thing I also noticed is I think it's important to have a sidewalk come all the way around and connect to, that would be an important connector to the Old Bridge neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
where there's currently not one. And provide some connectivity there.
Because currently they would be using that parking lot as their Old Bridge goes from Old Bridge through that E-Motors parking lot to get to.
Correct, or the empty lot, which might
Or the
still
empty lot,
happen
right.
anyway, but I think that if the sidewalk came down to at least the entrance on the Garden Street side, not necessarily cross it, but I'll leave that up to staff, but I think that's an important connector because it comes directly across from Old Bridge there. Just a thought. That one to me is kind of important. And then we've already touched on the future usage of the empty lot, that it's going to be potentially sold for future development, which makes sense. So those were my 3 items.
Thank you, Robert. Any other questions for Adam? I have a quick
I have-
one, Adam, and maybe it's just not shown on the plans and maybe for the petitioner. With the patio where it is, I would think we would want, I don't see one. I assume there's curb there, so you need some sort of curb ramp. We want that to be ADA accessible. And you probably want a delineated crosswalk. If you got people coming out of, you're essentially crossing a lane of traffic. And I don't know if that's getting too granular for this perspective, but I think that's something, if we're going to direct people to a seating area through what would be through the drive-through, you want some sort of delineation there. So, and that may be a question for you all at discussion time. But I don't see a clear, there's not a ped path to get over there unless we're just going to shoot them out in the parking lot and say good luck. So, just a comment that I'll pose again to the petitioner, but I was curious if that was contemplated. I can't tell if it's a stand-up curb, if it's roll curb, but trying to get access there.
Yeah, I think it is going to be chairback stand-up curb. But
So if we're going to designate that as a pedestrian area, we probably want to provide access.
mhm,
I don't know.
Yep.
Perspective on that, but
mhm.
okay.
Looking at these over
I have
here.
one final question for Adam regarding utilities in the area. If you look along Garden Street as it approaches West Broad Street, I just went and pulled up a Google map of it. You can see that there are several low-hanging utility wires through there. Is there a plan to improve that connection for local residents so that semi trucks, tractor trailers, anything bringing in deliveries doesn't have a potential height conflict as they exit through the south side of the property?
Well, there are plans. So if you follow the cursor, as of
Mhm.
today, there's a power pole that's about right here. And so the petitioner would like to relocate that to the south and over here.
Okay.
So they'll be working with Duke Energy to do that.
Okay.
But beyond that, they have no other plans to make any adjustments to overhead utilities in the area.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other final questions for Adam? If not,
I
hold.
just adding on that comment that I was just discussing was looking at this aerial. It looks like that sidewalk would have to go all the way to the far property line on that empty lot. Because the exit to the current lot is well short of that entrance to Old Bridge.
Yeah.
But that's something that can be discussed as a condition on the empty lot, or what we can discuss that, but just an observation I just made. Yep. There you go. You got it pulled up.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
All right. So what we will have, and I don't know who all's online, but a quick rundown of how the rest of the public hearing will go. We'll have time in our agenda for the petitioner to come to the microphone or unmute yourself. I'd like for you to say and spell your name and how you represent the case. And then after the petitioners had a chance to add to the case, we'll have some question and answer. We will have time in our agenda for public comment for or against the concept site plans. And then we will have time in our agenda for the petitioner to come back up and answer any questions that were heard. And then we will also have short time in our agenda for public officials. And then we will close out the public hearing section. So with that, I would invite whoever would like to speak for the case, either unmute yourself online or come down to the microphone.
Hello, can you hear me, Adam?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Alan Lovelace. I'm representing RPM Pizza Midwest 2. I apologize that I can't be there in person, but representing the group in person is Rogers and Kathy Galloway, who are part owners of the business. We appreciate you taking time to meet with us today and to hear what we'd like to do to improve and bring business to the town. We're very excited to do so. Would you like me to respond to several of the questions that came up first, Adam, as the approach?
I think it's up to you. If you'd like to start with a general overview, however you'd like to conduct this portion is entirely your project.
So, first off, I think just addressing some of your questions would be helpful. As it relates to the trees, I think that's something that I love to go back and review in terms of height and the span of the trees. We're going to have a sign, in the middle of the open area where Broadway meets Garden. It's also going to supply lighting to the parking lot. And so, as you build the beauty, you don't want to block the sign too much. But also in light of what was said earlier, I can't remember who said it, but you've indicated it's going to be a very busy road. And so if those trees are blocking visibility to a certain extent, we've got to talk through that some. So don't hear me wrong. I want to improve the beautification of it, but I just think we've got to go back and review those items, just like we did the juniper. One of your other comments was very well taken. A pedestrian crossing needs to be clearly marked between the patio and the store. We need to make that very visible. And part of the reason I didn't have concern over vehicles taking a right-hand turn onto Broad was because of how wide the opening is from the curb to the first parking space there. I think there's opportunity to, even if you have a large truck, to make an adjustment. The sidewalk, I think we have to go back and talk about some. I did want to follow up that the first tank, particularly to Brittany's question, was removed today. The samples had been taken. There was not anything evidence of major leakage or anything of that nature, and it was cleared for removal. That did occur today. Unfortunately, what was discovered was that there is a second tank, which was pulled for samples, and within 5 to 7 business days, we should have the outcome of that tank, which would have had capacity of holding around 1,300 gallons. It had an oil water mixture, and so it has not been touched, but we are getting a sample. So that's the current condition of the tank. Forgive me if I left anything else out that was brought. The last thing was we're pushing Duke to help us move the electric and utilities underground when we bring them to the back by the dumpster. We want to dramatically improve that look. So with that, we're excited. As soon as we get approval, we want to move to full plans within 2 weeks to be able to submit for review. The goal is to get this project done no later than end of year, if not sooner. So we're doing everything on our end so that the moment we find out about those tanks, we can pull the trigger and move forward quickly. I think that's all I had to bring up, Adam, at first. Again, appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Lovelace. Appreciate the answers to those questions. Does anybody on the commission have questions for the petitioner at this time?
I have a couple clarifying questions about those USTs. I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So the first tank was removed today?
First tank was removed today. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, awesome. So then we should be getting those lab results back shortly. And then you are working on getting approval from IDEM to remove the second tank?
They will. We just found out about it today. Yes.
Well, we know those UST discoveries can sometimes be greater than what we're anticipating. When they looked at it, was it damaged in any way? I'm just curious for my own personal interest.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It did not appear to be damaged. It appeared that there was a crossover between the two, which did not appear to have any damage. Frankly, I'm surprised that that was not visible during the initial review. But based on the visual assessment, they did not see any damage at this time.
Okay. That sounds like fantastic news. You would probably also know this, or was there ever an environmental covenant restriction placed on this property?
Not to my
ERC, ECR.
And we had solicited the support from Dan Rust with BCA Consultants and did the research on that. So not to our knowledge, no.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I have you come to the microphone just so we can capture it?
My name's Raj Galloway. I'm an owner of Domino's. I've been in the business for 41 years. And Alan will tell you, I'm present every day in our stores. The only thing I ask when you're considering with him, the bushes, the egress and ingress for the driver, looking to the right, looking to the left, please consider the age of the bush may not you may want to get something to get big, that's great, but we have to spend 2 years while it grows and the driver can't see. So please consider that when you're considering your plans, because we have to go on these sites and landlords are like, this is a beautiful tree. And I'm like, that's awesome, but we can't see the road. So just, that's all, my only comment there.
One quick, Zach, you had the question about the open lot. Is that intended to be, is that to contemplate the, trees which would not restrict sight lines, but obviously if you're going to redevelop that lot or sell it off, subdivide it.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to address that. The intent is to sell that lot off. And so I
Okay.
think
So then,
putting trees in for what we hope to be a short period of time. Yeah.
okay. And so that, I don't know why it didn't come up earlier, Adam. I was thinking through the street trees, given the distance from Broadway being 36, that probably needs to be subject to NDOT approval for the driveway. Because if typically we don't allow street trees that close, 10 feet is usually clear zone. And so they would have to be 4 feet off the back of the sidewalk based on chair back. So I would hate to put a requirement in here and then have NDOT come back and say, we can't have the street trees in the strip. But maybe we could do that. And then if they decide to,
That's a good point. What you could do is, if you're inclined, is let's say you would like to see 3 street trees along that frontage, just say subject to NDOT approval.
okay. And then we can figure out where.
And then usually for the, the clear zone comments are all very good comments. Usually, and I think it spells it out even in our ordinance, is so if the bushes get up to say 3 feet, 3.5 feet, is there's usually considered a clear zone between 3 or 3.5 feet to about 7 feet. So that window is the window that should be clear as much as possible.
Sight lines, yeah. Any other questions for the petitioner at this time? Thank you, Adam, for that context.
Yeah, I would just say, are you concerned about the juniper bushes or?
From being operated, like the basic sidewalk,
Yeah.
sidewalk and 2-foot tall kid. I was like, we want the drivers to see as much.
Sure. Yeah.
And we have equipment that keeps our drivers within the speed limit at all times, so we're not concerned about our attitude towards safety. It's just giving them the best chance to succeed is what we really need.
Understood.
All right. Any other questions for the petitioner?
Yeah, I think it'd probably be safe to assume, but I'm going to go under the assumption that with the pedestrian crossing to that patio, there would also be a sidewalk through that landscape island of some sort, kind of in front of the driver parking. I know we're throwing this at you here and you haven't thought much about it, Alan, but would you agree that there'd be some sort of sidewalk through that landscape island or concrete walkway to the pedestrian crossing?
Let me,
Right now, it's just Riverstone. I think
I believe it's just
dedicated
River
to
Rock and Juniper.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it is going to have Riverwalk, which of course is not, so let me go back and review that if you're open to it, especially since we are rerouting utilities and there's things being moved there already from that area to the back. I'm not opposed to the idea. I just,
I'm just picturing if there are a couple of vehicles parked there. In order to walk around to the patio, you're walking out into the middle of the parking lot or walking through the gravel, which might work until the bushes get larger in size. For the winter, yeah.
To the discussion of making sure that PEDs are very visible, you want them in a designated space. If you've got a sidewalk, they're going to be in that path. Well, very likely. People tend to take the path of least resistance regardless if it's paved or not. But if we provide that, they're more than likely to take that path.
Absolutely.
I'm guessing the easiest thing to do would just be continue the sidewalk that's already on the side of the building in front of those 2 parking spots.
Right.
Yeah.
And then have an ADA at
Right
the
here.
end. Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that.
I think that's very, very reasonable. I think I would, just to follow up on the sidewalk on the Garden Street side, I think what I heard said was that we're going to go back, and Adam, we're going to discuss that because of also trying to understand the length of it. Does it need to go to the edge of the lot that will be cleared?
And I don't know that it needs to be sidewalk. I mean, I'm amenable to town staff if the asphalt path like we have other places in town, if that's easier. It provides some great connectivity to, that's a large residential addition there.
Yeah, it might bring some more business.
And it provides connectivity to the other sidewalk system in the town there. And it might cut down, I don't know, but it might cut down on folks cutting through the lots as well. That's an important one to me. Don't know about the rest of the commission.
It's on my list. Yeah.
I don't know that it needs to be concrete sidewalk. Whatever town staff thinks would be best or would look best or would be easiest, I'm okay with, but as long as there's connectivity there. And if you notice there, the drive is over, the connection to that addition is on the empty lot. And granted, their sidewalks in just short, I noticed, but.
Because there was no connectivity at that time.
Correct.
So you could be provided eventually town.
So for it to be discussed, now would be a good time to discuss that, because if it's made a condition, how would you want to handle that, Adam? And if a sidewalk or a path is not provided, that would be an issue.
We kind of toyed
Well,
making it a part of the
Yeah,
second
I mean,
lot.
I think, it's certainly within your realm to make a condition on that if you so choose.
Adam, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
What is the cost ratio between a concrete sidewalk versus an asphalt trail? Which one would be more cost effective for the petitioner?
I would think probably 5-foot concrete sidewalk. Because usually for
I think
those
that-
trails, they're going to want those at 6 to 8 feet wide. And I when I was talking to Joe Runner, our town manager / public works director, he said that at some point maybe we could do an asphalt path on the south side of Garden, but there's nothing in the works right now to do that.
Right.
So, I mean, I suppose the other option too, in terms of if it was a requirement to put it in, that petitioner could seek additional funding from the RDC to do that, since it's a public improvement. And that would be up to them to see if they wanted to chip in some additional funds for that. I mean, I think it would be a good use of public dollars for that because it directly benefits the public, but that would be up to them.
So I have a
think
question.
having a sidewalk there wrapping around is an excellent idea. I just want to be cognizant of the cost to the petitioner for extra work that perhaps they're not expecting. And just make sure that we're doing this hand in hand with the upcoming business so that it's not a conflict point in the future.
Oh, the one other thing I just wanted to mention, the other thing when we looked at the sidewalk is there is a pole that's over here. So you'd have to, it could probably be done. We've got a light pole over here, a new light pole, then there's an existing power pole over here. So you'd have to kind of weave the sidewalk through. The other issue too, again, that it's not that it's insurmountable, but it's just another factor that could increase cost is if we put in a sidewalk, it's pretty tight between the parking area and the asphalt on Garden. So,
But aren't they ripping that out and redoing the parking lot?
They are, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. You could gain a little bit of square footage there. But anyway, if you're going to put in a sidewalk, does that mean that you put in a curb as well? And then what happens to the drainage, the sheet flow drainage on the road?
No, that's a good point. We'd have to put in curb and gutter. And so there's a substantial cost there. It looks like it's crowned and it's draining to both sides. It stops right there at the corner.
So that's why, again, from a staffer's perspective, I don't disagree at all with the thought process, or even if you end up deciding to ultimately make a condition on that. It's just, I certainly, what I would say is this, there's no doubt that if this was a brand new project, if this was knocked down and you were doing a brand new project, absolutely 100% got to put it in. Because this was a remodel, it's a little bit of a different situation as to how far do you want to push for those improvements. You certainly can. It's within your abilities to do that, I believe. And that's why I was thinking, realistically, while we don't typically want people to cut through private property like that. Realistically, because there's no sidewalk over here, there's nothing planned. If somebody's going to get up to Broadway, most likely they'll probably just take the path of least resistance and frankly cut through the lot. And then secondly, even if they wanted to cross over here on Broadway, I still think they're going to cut through the lot anyway. But so it's certainly up to the board.
Is there a mechanism, because there's going to be substantial cost impact for the RDC to do a side-by-side project here? I would hate to put this all on the applicant, but coming back and doing this later is also going to have impact to an operating business. So it seems like this would be the right time to do some sort of, if we're going to do the improvement, it would make sense to do it while they are doing site improvements, while they are not operating, but they shouldn't have to bear the entire cost of the improvement, particularly if we're talking curb and gutter. It can add up. And, if it's utility relocates, is there a mechanism that we could make a recommendation to the RDC or something like that for essentially an add-on project to do this at the same time?
I was actually along those lines, Nathan, going to ask, is it possible that we ask the petitioner to leave room to accommodate for that sidewalk for a future improvement project that may be done by NDOT or the town, so that it's already planned for, it's just not being implemented at this time? And then if the RDC deigns it reasonable, they could come back in and do it. Because I worry about having to do a hydrological report and all of that.
That's a good point. There's a lot, you're right. Or maybe it's the next time the garden is improved. Next time we come through with it.
Well, like we said earlier, renegotiating or discussing again when that empty lot is sold. This is a prominent point in Fortville as you come into town.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it would only add to the aesthetic, I think.
Yeah.
And so
can I say something to that, Brittany? I really like the idea, and I don't want to hold up progress, but I like the way you said it, where if we build the asphalt and our parking to the location it is now with those posts gone and those bushes in, then later on, if you make an adjustment, we have to move some bushes and cut back our parking lot a little, which is not a problem at all. The question really is, I do think it's better that I'm recommending we proceed as is, but if you come back with those funds, it'd probably be easier for us just to cut out some of that asphalt, move the bushes so that we don't avoid progress. But But maybe you put a stipulation in there that requires that within 30, 60 days, we approach the RDC for a future joint project and get the ball rolling as a suggestion.
Open to that.
Yeah, personally, I don't think anyone here wants to impede or halt the project. We're just trying to find the best solution for merging the property, your concept, and what's in the best interest of the community for the future.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I was more referring to a place I'm dealing with right now in Mississippi that's impeding me for a year. So whenever you talk about studies and all of that, but I do want to make it sure it's clearly conveyed that I like the idea and approaching the RDC and trying to find a way to continue to beautify it and not see this as an end all be all. So I appreciate that.
Would a temporary fix be to just put in a 4 or 5 foot wide sidewalk from the basically lining up with the entrance of Old Bridge to the parking lot of Domino's and not wrapping it around the corner?
That would be on the empty lot, right?
Majority of it would be, maybe half and half. It would go in front of the dumpster enclosure and just line up to the entry of Old Bridge and not proceed on the other side of the parking lot to wrap the point.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not a big fan of small sections of sidewalk leading to nowhere. But I guess if we knew that there was a plan in the future, near future, to continue it, potentially not at their expense, we could get some of it accomplished at this point.
Are there current plans? Is there anything on the horizon for that empty lot?
There is not
Nothing yet? Okay.
nothing yet.
Hey,
I see.
Adam,
Do we do that with the
if
because they have to come back to us? Yeah.
I am looking at Google Maps, so correct me if I'm wrong, but along Swan
Mhm.
Drive, it looks like there's sidewalks on either side. So if we brought the sidewalk just down to where it meets the western side of Swan Drive and then provide a crosswalk across, that should connect us to the existing sidewalk there along the west side of Swan Drive, if that makes sense. Unless I'm incorrect about the location of their sidewalks. I was looking at a recent Google
Yeah,
map.
so the, if you look, let's see, it's the, you see on the screen there?
Mhm.
See where the current sidewalk terminates?
Yeah.
See where the cursor is? You're able to-
That way, if there's a potential for future improvements there, they could just
Yeah.
readily cross at that intersection along the western side.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, going back to your original comment, maybe the idea is, since, let's go back to the site plan here. You know, maybe the other thing to keep things moving is, since you're going to be reworking the parking lot anyway, is I wonder if the parking lot is pulled back. Oh, you have this parking space over here. Basically, maybe if we were to just plan for enough physical space there between the bushes and the asphalt
Mhm.
to squeeze in a 5 foot sidewalk at some point in the future and a attached chairback curb, then that could be implemented at some point by the town.
What I originally proposed is that the petitioner leave that space available for future improvements.
I agree.
Right.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. I like that.
Yes, leave the space there so that
In
if
front.
the town puts in a sidewalk, that it's not gonna, there's enough physical room to do it. That's one way of doing it.
Got a question, Adam, maybe for Alex. This is one parcel, correct? This and the empty lot. It's all one parcel.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Could this be,
I think it might be two, no, it might be technically two underlying parcels that are combined for one tax ID, but here's the boundary of the ownership. This is
Right.
what they own.
and maybe this is, the condition is attached to the sale or subdivide of that empty lot, and it has to be addressed at that point. It's kind of kicking it down the road, but it can be tied into the sale proceeds. It can be tied in. I mean, it gets accomplished now, what we need to get done now, but I think it's important to tie it into the connectivity, the pedestrian connectivity, and into Old Bridge.
Yeah.
But it is across from the empty lot, so maybe we attach the contingency now to that lot. Since right now it's all one, so.
Although what becomes contentious
But-
then is
And then Robert, you invoked my name, so I'll pipe
Yeah.
in. I actually think that makes more sense. Adam touched on it earlier. If there's a new build, then it would be required, and so that would be the time to make that sidewalk improvement and connectivity.
But here's my concern is when the sale happens, it'll be to a different party, and then we would be negotiating a sidewalk install on our owner's property, the one on the point. So if we made it conditional now, would it still carry over upon the sale and transfer of the empty lot?
I think that it would, because I thought at the beginning, part of the site plan is the beautification, making it a grassy area and that, empty lot. So I think that's covered by the site plan that's under review tonight. I may be wrong about that.
Okay.
yeah, make that a condition. That way it doesn't impede what we're doing today. They can get out.
Thank you, Alex.
Sure.
On the Swan Drive property there at the end, the sidewalks look like, and I haven't seen them, but they look like they're probably 50 feet short of the road itself.
Right.
They feed into the road, correct?
That could be a possible RDC or town project as well.
I got you.
Yeah, that would not be on.
That would not be a requirement.
No, I'm just wondering if there's a town plan to connect that to the crosswalk. Right now it goes into the.
Yeah, there's no town plan to do anything. Yeah.
Adam, just to bring this up and put it on the record, that is a residential subdivision over there, a residential area. And from my own teenage years, we had a Domino's pizza in our town where I grew up, and it was a frequent spot for teenagers and young adults to hang out and get some late night food while walking around. I think it would be in the town's best interest to consider what improvements could be made on the town's part over at that location.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like I said, I think it's a worthwhile town expenditure from TIF funds to do that, but it's up to the RDC to make that decision.
Good context, Brittany. Appreciate it. Any other questions, comments, or the petition at this time? We have time in our agenda for comments. Any to speak? No. No. Okay. All right. Any final comments or discussion needed? If not, oh, did I cut someone off online? Oh, it's just the feedback. Okay. Then I would look for a motion, and these can be broken up or they can be bundled, for Approval with conditions or denial of the concept plans, which includes, and we'll make sure we delineate this, site plan, landscaping, lighting, and building elevations for the proposed remodel of 414 West Garden.
I think I got it down. I got it written out here. Are you ready?
Sure.
Make a motion to approve the concept site plan, the concept landscape plan, the concept building elevations, concept lighting, subject to the following minor conditions. One, discussion with town staff and ultimate approval from town staff on the installation of 3 street trees to be added along Broadway between sidewalk and parking area. 2, an inverted U-shaped bicycle rack shall be provided as required. 3, final light photometric plans and final light fixture cut sheets shall be provided for staff review. 4, upon repour of the parking lot, leave room for a 5-foot concrete sidewalk on the Garden Street side for future use. And then 5, upon sale or transfer of the empty lot, installation of the sidewalk to connect to the sidewalk at the point would be done at that time or scheduled at that time. Did I miss anything?
So we get,
I'll second.
oh, hold on one second. We're clarifying.
Would that be included with the approval of the town staff? When Dot smokes that, then
I think it's wrapped up. I think that covers it well enough. Like that.
we have a second.
All right, we've got a second. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstain? All right, concept site plans are approved. Minor conditions. We appreciate your time this evening. We are looking forward to this project. As you can tell, there was almost no comment on the building. We think the building looks great. We're excited for you all's business in town. Look forward to you all joining the community.
Yes.
Thank you for the time. We really appreciate the support and look forward to it.
Yeah, you'll love our people. We have the best people.
I can't wait. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you all so much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your patience with us this evening.
Thank you.
That concludes our public hearing portion of the meeting tonight. Next, we've got board comments. Any comments from the board this evening?
I have none.
I appreciate everyone's time. Adam, Sarah, Alex, thank you for your patience this evening as we work through this. Staff comments. Any comments from the staff?
Nope, nothing for me unless you have questions or anything.
You want more questions from us?
Oh, yep.
Just kidding.
All
All
right.
right.
Motion to adjourn at 7:33.
7:33. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
33. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
What is the highest?
5:30.